So we've just finished our council meeting of the 13th of July. Seems like we've had a lot of council meetings recently. Of course, this year we've had 3 weekly council meetings rather than 4 weekly, which was the case prior to that. But also we had our unscheduled council meeting too on the 29th of June to pass all those really key documents for council. So tonight we had a presentation from Kath McMahon from St Vincent de Paul and some of her colleagues who do some amazing work in our community here in Bairnsdale, looking after the most vulnerable in our community, often homeless people, providing showers and food and other support for them. So it was quite moving, I think, to hear about that situation in our town, and they had a request for council which we'll consider. In their councillor reports, councillors gave reports of fantastic things that were happening all over the Shire that they'd been attending. Community events for NAIDOC Week, for the Winter Festival, and they were so enthusiastic about all of those things that they'd been attending. Some of the things that I spoke about were around bushfire recovery and some of the reports that are coming in from those meetings, and some of the positive things that are coming out. So there've been a lot of real highlights, I suppose, that we heard about in the council meeting tonight. We had a number of contracts which were considered. Some of those are very important for the people involved in those. A very important item on the agenda tonight was one that considered gender equity and free from violence. So we received a very important report from council officers to say that East Gippsland is the highest, or one of the highest, local government areas for reports of domestic violence, and that's coming from police statistics. Horrifying to think about that and to really let that sink in, that is the community that we're all part of, and to consider what council's role is in trying to address both gender equity and domestic violence. So as part of that, council re-endorsed the Victorian Local Government Women's Charter, and that says, East Gippsland Shire Council acknowledges the prevalence and impact of violence against women in our community and regards all forms of violence against women as unacceptable. Council will lead by example as an employer, service provider, advocate, funder and key stakeholder by acting in a manner that demonstrates relationships built on respect and by providing opportunities that are gender equitable and non-discriminatory. So a really important statement. Council also nominated 2 councillors, Councillor Greason and Allen, to be our first 2 charter champions to lead that work. Finally, we had a very interesting report from council officers about the EES process. So this is at the moment we're going through an IAC process or hearing around the proposal for mineral sands, the Kalbar mine at Glenaladale. The process of being part of that EES has been incredibly difficult, time-consuming and resource-heavy for council, not just in terms of dollars, but that's the case as well, but in terms of the staff hours required to support that process, and the technical expertise that's required to be a real part of that process means that we have to engage technical experts and legal experts to support what we believe are the best, or we hope will be the best outcomes for our community. Council feels committed to being part of that process, because if we weren't there at the table, we believe that we wouldn't have any chance at all of seeking those best outcomes. So we're committed to the process, but finding it very difficult. Council has resolved tonight to undertake a very strong advocacy process. So to write to a number of people, the Premier, the Minister for Planning, the Chair of the current inquiry. We'll be seeking support from the Municipal Association of Victoria and Rural Councils Victoria, and for myself, as part of the Local Government Mayoral Advisory Panel, I'll be taking up advocacy around the sorts of changes that we want to see in the EES process in the future to make that process fairer for community members and for community outcomes. They were the main items to come out of this evening's meeting. Our next meeting is going to be on the 3rd of August, and it's going to be held in the Genoa Public Hall starting at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.